please don't do this, Laura. My wife, married 7 years, was in the process of getting ready to leave on a date with another man. Henry, we've already discussed this. I'm going to. He wants me and I want him. You can just accept it. Is it worth getting a divorce because of him? Laura stopped putting on makeup and turned to me. You know you won't divorce me. You're aware that if you divorce me, I'll get custody of the house and the children. You'll be obligated to pay alimony and child support. I'll ensure you hardly get to see the girls, yet you'll still be financially responsible for my extramarital affairs. You won't receive anything in return, she stated matter-of-factly, returning her focus to her makeup. I was dumbfounded. This was the same woman I'd dated for a year and been married to for the past 7. She had always been loving, respectful, and supportive. Now, it appeared it was all an act. She was a skilled actress. How would your mother feel about what you're doing? I questioned, feeling a pang of disbelief. Henry, you're so naive and gullible, she dismissed with a shake of her head. It was her idea. I was raised for this purpose. A woman should have power in a marriage. We are not as physically strong as men, so we need to assert our dominance in other ways. Mom did the same thing with Dad when I was little. In the end, he agreed to take his place. And you will too. Oh, sure, it will be difficult, and the fragile male ego will probably resist. But in the end, you will understand that the best solution is to just agree. She finished her makeup and straightened her hair. Laura was definitely a beautiful woman. She was Armenian, with dark skin and long straight black hair. She did have a small nose, which she said gave her some trouble when she was younger, but she had grown it up and now it matched her deep brown eyes, giving her an exotic, sultry look. When we got married, I truly felt like I had struck gold. While I was watching her, she rather suddenly slid her hands under her skirt, pulled down her thong and threw it on the floor. I decided that it would only get in the way. I want him to have access to my private parts all night long. Laura, if you do this, I won't be here when you get back. She glanced at me with a hint of exasperation, as if I were missing the point entirely. Darling, I understand this is difficult for you. Despite your doubts, I genuinely love you. I chose to marry you because of the depth of my feelings for you and because you are a better man and father than any other I've known. Other men are merely sources of physical pleasure for me. I simply require more than one man can provide. However, if you cease tormenting me over this, I'll make it worth your while when I return home, she assured me, as if this were some form of incentive. The seriousness in her tone was evident. She continued, but I must warn you beforehand. I know you prefer things a certain way down there, but he prefers it differently. So, I've shaved it all off. Each revelation felt like another blow. Are you kidding me? So some other guy wants you to shave, and his preference overrides mine. And am I supposed to be okay with this? I protested, feeling incredulous. You may not agree with it, but you'll have to accept it. Just like everything else you can't change. From now on, I won't be able to have direct sexual contact with you. He wants me exclusively for himself, but I'll ensure you're taken care of in other ways, she stated matter-of-factly. It was the final straw. She had crossed a line, and there was no chance of things being fine after this. Why don't you just leave me and go to him? She laughed as if it was the most ridiculous sentence in the world. I told you, Henry, that no man can satisfy all my sexual needs. Plus, he only makes about $25,000 a year. He's just a nobody in the warehouse. But he has a great boyfriend, and the girls he's been with say he knows how to use him. No, we need your income to support me in the lifestyle that me and your children deserve. So what do I look like? I noticed that she never mentioned that she loved me. Like a fallen woman, she laughed. You're just trying to be mean. But that's exactly what I was going for. She grabbed her purse, stuffed her ID, extra lipstick, and emergency cash into it, and headed for the front door. Before leaving, she came up to me and tried to kiss me. I turned my head so that she could only see my cheek. And even then I felt a little uneasy. Henry, I know it will be difficult at first. This is not what you expected to see in your life, and you will have to get used to it. But you will learn to appreciate the lack of responsibility it will mean for you. You'll be okay in the end. I just know it. So, considering you were something of a soldier, following orders should come naturally to you, right? Everything will fall into place. And now it's time for me to depart, she declared, and with those words, she left. It was only around 7 a.m., so I had some time to spare, contemplating her remark about soldiers. Admittedly, I didn't often discuss my military experience, and she never inquired about it, so I assumed that was the only association she could draw. She would soon realize that serving in the army entailed far more than simply following orders. Around 7:30, I decided to call her mother. Despite being privy to more than they realized, I approached Margaret as if I were completely taken aback by the events of the evening. I recounted my conversation with Laura, noting that I hadn't fully comprehended the depth of her father's depression until now. Margaret echoed Laura's sentiments, suggesting, "Oh, Henry, I know this might be difficult to grasp, but you must understand, women are naturally suited to lead. and we must utilize every resource available to gain that advantage. Contrary to popular belief, women require more sex than men and are capable of performing for longer and better. We must have multiple partners and enlist other men to fulfill certain roles, suppressing the urge to burst into hysterical laughter. I listened as she elaborated on her peculiar philosophy. Is this really so? I asked. Certainly. Like my husband, Gary, your main role is financial support and raising your children. Do it well and you will be rewarded with appropriate access to our bodies. Laura says that she is only for a lover. Don't worry about it. It's only temporary. This should be done at the very beginning to give you the right direction. Once you begin to accept your role more, there will be more opportunities to please her in this way. In fact, she needs you, since you are her husband and social norms dictator that you are the one she lives with. She needs you to help her keep a clear head so she can run the family properly. Do you understand me? You know, Margaret, you explained everything perfectly. It really makes sense. I'm very glad that I was able to help clarify the situation. I know it seems harsh and such a big change, but it won't take you long to get into the groove and even enjoy the role you're playing. I'm sure you're right, but please make sure the girls are in bed by 9. Of course, Henry, I am happy to respect wishes in this regard. We women are not reckless, and don't hesitate to call me if you have any other questions. Perhaps I can answer them a little more clearly than Laura. Margaret's complicity in this matter will not remain without consequences. She wouldn't be harmed physically, but I figured the means she would suffer from would actually be quite painful for her. You see, I was more than aware of what Laura was planning to do. In fact, Laura was too gullible. She assumed that I would just go along with what happened day by day and that she had fooled me. But something in her behavior spoke of change, and so I reached out to a few of my brothers in arms to help me by simply doing what they did best. Alan was the smartest of us. He had been involved with intelligence units while we were overseas and knew almost everything there was to know about surveillance and electronic security. He tapped our phones and tapped Laura's car, purse, and cell phone. He had many audio recordings of her conversations with her mother, friends, and lover about what they were planning. I suspected that some of her friends were planning to pull the same shit, depending on how Laura's attempt went. David also worked in intelligence and was one of those guys who forged documents for various agents abroad. David was also one of the best computer hackers. Mark was now an executive at a company that did quite a bit of business overseas, and this gave him access to the company's private jet. He could use it as he saw fit and had few reporting requirements. And finally, there was Jason, Carl, and Dennis, JCD as we called them in the group. These guys were fighters, but they were good at it. They were excellent shooters with all types of weapons. All the guys were on alert. And at 10 p.m., the plan came into effect. My request that the kids be in bed by 9 was part of the plan. I packed several suitcases for myself and the children, mostly with items of personal and sentimental value. Sure, there were some clothes, but toys made up the bulk of the kids' things. We can buy clothes. I loaded everything into the car and drove to my relatives for the last time. I stopped in front of Margaret and Gary's house. It was dark except for the light in the living room where Laura's parents were watching TV. Jason briefed me. The kids are in bed at 9 and are probably asleep for 15 minutes or so. The subjects watched TV from 9:30. The husband made several trips to the kitchen for drinks and snacks, but that was the end of their movements for now. We're ready to come in, just say so. Let's. JD walked up to the house. If I didn't know they were there, I wouldn't even notice them. They used only hand weapons. No automation was required for this particular operation. I just stood and looked at the living room, watching with interest as the guys entered the living room and quickly subdued Margaret and Gary. I walked slowly towards the house and entered through the front door. I heard Margaret beg, "Please don't hurt us. You must have chosen the wrong people. We didn't do anything. Our granddaughters sleep in the next room. Please just let us go. We won't say a word to anyone. It was at that moment that she saw me enter the room and fell silent. What are you doing, Margaret? Don't keep us in suspense. Henry, what's going on here? Either you let us go immediately or Laura will do it. Shut up, Margaret. I had never spoken to her like that and she was shocked. Neither you nor Laura can do anything about it. I suggest you just listen to what I have to tell you now. Please save your questions until the end. While we were talking, JD methodically and calmly bound each of them to chairs in the dining room. These individuals were skilled at this kind of situation. Margaret and Gary would remain confined to these chairs until someone released them or they found a way to break free. Margaret, Gary, I've made a decision. I refuse to accept the future that you and your daughter attempted to impose upon me, I declared, my sarcasm evident. As tempting as it may be to let your daughter bear all the responsibility and dictate the course of my life, I don't believe it's a viable option for me. I continued. I've been aware of your little scheme for some time now, and I've taken my own precautions. Since you've chosen to participate in and even encourage it, you'll also face the consequences. Margaret interjected sarcastically. And what might those consequences be? Margaret, I asked you to postpone your questions until the end. I will provide all the information you need. But since you asked, I'll answer that question now. The consequence, in my opinion, will hurt you the most. You will never see your granddaughters again. Henry, no. Please, no. You can't do this. Please do not. I raised my hand to stop her ranting. I can, and I will do it. But Laura is still young. Maybe in time she will give you a replacement, but that's not my concern. She suddenly became aggressive, trying to gain the upper hand. We will find you, Henry. We will spare no expense to find you. You know we have money. We will find you, and you will be sorry. You can try, Margaret, although you're wrong about one thing. You have no money. What are you talking about? Well, as one of the consequences of your actions, there were certain steps that were necessary to prevent you from making that very quest, so I had to take such an unfortunate step. That all your bank accounts are empty, except so that you can stay afloat for a month or two. This includes your investment accounts, your 401k, and even that little secret bank account you and Laura opened as an emergency fund that you didn't think I knew about. How the hell could you do that? It is clear that you underestimated the resources available to me due to my military career. That's how I got my hands on almost every penny of yours, including cash advances on all your credit cards. Before you even think about following me, you will have to deal with an astonishingly crushing debt load. Gary, I hope you're not planning on retiring anytime soon. On the other hand, I will never have to work again. Gary didn't say a word, and he still doesn't. He just stared at me, although I think part of him was hoping that I would offer to take him with me. But the good news is that you will be together. Laura won't be able to afford the house since she doesn't work. And with the mortgages I have on it, even selling the damn thing won't do anything. Her credit cards are canceled, and yours are almost maxed out. You won't have enough money to pay attention to the search, so she'll have to come live with you, and maybe between the three of you things will work out. We'll find a way anyway, bastard, just wait. I'm looking forward to it, really. I'll even give you a little hint to help you out. Don't bother looking within the US, we won't be here. And don't bother looking for Henry, Riley, or Lily Weston. After tonight, these people will no longer exist, at least on paper. Neither of them could think of anything else to say, so I went and woke the girls up. Dad, they shouted in unison. We packed their things and I explained that we were going on a little trip. They seemed excited and said Mom must be excited too. We'll get there, but not now. I drove to a private airfield where Mark's corporate jet was waiting for me. Jason will take my car to the local motel I checked into to make things a little confusing. We boarded the plane and settled in. The girls were amazed at how much space they had, at least compared to a commercial plane, and for the most part, they were free to roam and play. Information about our new identities was waiting for us on the plane. We had several hours to fly, and I took the opportunity to explain to the girls that something had happened and we would no longer see Mom and grandparents. We also talked about their new names and where we would live. They were sad and cried themselves to sleep, but I was sure they would adjust eventually. They were still small. Laura, I finally got home from my date at 3 a.m. In fact, it was just a date in the strictest sense. There was no romance, no affection. We met at a bar, had a few drinks, and then went back to his place. I definitely had some good sex tonight. And not just with the guy I originally met. We also picked up a couple of his friends at the bar, so I went and got them all and wore them all out. Of course I was in pain, but I could have carried on if I needed to sooner than any of the guys. Henry just had to understand that I needed more than he could give. This wasn't a knock on him. No man could satisfy all my needs, and it took me a hell of a long time to be fully satisfied until he was where I needed him to be so I could start it all. But I was going to make up for lost time. That's for sure. I pressed the garage door opener and waited for it to rise. I wasn't really surprised that Henry's seat was empty. Dad reacted the same way, Mom told me. I hoped that everything would go smoothly. But my mother was right when she said that the male ego would not allow them to just live like that. Henry isn't here for me, and his absence affected me more than I expected. But it was just proof that I truly loved him, despite what he was thinking right now. But he will soon return to my bed. His love for children ensured that he would straighten up and fly right. I laughed a little to myself as I imagined him coming back and begging me to let him service me so he could see the girls. It was about 11 hours and Henry wasn't home yet. None of this is surprising, but the longer he stays away, the more I plan to make him apologize. Perhaps I was too harsh. I mean, Larry wants exclusive rights to me, although he has no problem sharing them with his buddies. But I think Henry's position as my husband should give him the right to something more. So when he comes crawling back, I'll go ahead and let him fuck me. This will smooth everything out. I took a long shower to make sure everything was nice and clean. Damn it, I didn't want it sitting inside me any longer than necessary. I slipped into bed naked and fell asleep instantly. I called Mom and Dad's home to check on the girls but got no answer. Then tried each of their cell phones and got no answer either. It's strange, I thought. They always answer. Concerned. 20 minutes later, I drove up to their house. Their car was there too. And everything looked as it should. I actually expected them to come out since they weren't answering the phone or maybe working in the yard. I walked through the front door. Mother, father, I barely heard the answer, which seemed strange to me. Laura, dear, here, quicker. I rushed into the living room and was shocked to find them both lying on their sides, tied to chairs. My God, Mother, Dad, what's happened? I worked to untie them, as Mom explained. He took the children, Laura. It was Henry. He took them. What are you saying, Mom? Henry did this to you and then took the girls? Yes, he and several of his friends seemed to be army men. I don't know. They barged in, bound us tightly, and Henry absconded with the girls, declaring he was fleeing the country, ensuring we'd never lay eyes on them again. My mind reeled at this revelation. Had I truly underestimated him to such an extent? I never would have imagined he was capable of such treachery. There had to be another explanation. After freeing my mother and instructing her to assist my father, I frantically dialed Henry's cell phone. I'll sort this out, I reassured myself. He'll return with my children or face severe consequences. As I waited, expecting Laura's call, I held onto the phone, activated for international service solely for this crucial conversation. After letting it ring 4 times, I begrudgingly answered. Hello, I spat, seething with anger. You despicable coward. Where are you? Without waiting for a response, I abruptly ended the call. Moments later, the phone buzzed again. Don't you dare hang up, you cowardly bastard. I slammed the phone down once more, but it persisted in ringing. This time I spoke first. Laura, this is your last chance to speak politely. If I hang up again, that will be the last time you hear my voice. Is it clear? I could almost hear her frowning into the phone. Yes, I understand. Now what happens? Why were my parents tied up and where are my children? Well, let me answer the questions in reverse order. First of all, you don't have any more children. Those who were once your children are here with me where they will remain and you will never see them again. Bullshit, bastard. This is the last warning about the language, Laura. Keep your mouth shut or I'll end this right now. I kept this number open just so we could talk one last time. After I hang up, this number no longer works. So if you want answers, you need to watch how you express yourself. Clear. Laura's tone of voice instantly changed. She probably thought she could still get to me, but at this point she needed to appear punished. Of course she was wrong, but she didn't know it yet. Yes, sorry, I'm just really upset. Imagine how I felt when I discovered that my parents were tied up and my children were missing. And imagine how I felt when I was told that I would be forced to support my slutty wife while she had sex with everyone or face being denied children. None of this would have happened if you had stayed home instead of cheating on me with 3 different guys. Yes, I've been following you. I know exactly what you did. Henry, baby, that's not what I meant. I was just trying to get you to fight for me and show me how much you love me. We have been married for 7 years. I won't have to fight for you anymore. A woman just likes to be reminded how desirable she is. That's all. He's a piece of crap and you know it. Your mother explained everything to me. My role as breadwinner and childcare provider. My reward with sex if I do my job well. And all the other men who will serve to satisfy your sexual needs. Well, now you're free to try and pull it on someone else. You were a fool to think that I would accept what you tried to throw at me. Henry, please forgive me. Just give me back my children. I'll do anything. Alas, Laura, you showed your true colors, and that's all. As I told your mother, you can try to find us, but we live under different names and in another country. We have new birth certificates that don't even say you're their mother, so there's no paper trail for you to hunt. For the first time, I'm glad that my parents died in that car accident. This would make it difficult to leave. Goodbye, Laura. I heard her screaming my name as I turned off the call and threw the phone into the water. I turned to my girls. Okay, Lucy, Janie. What are we gonna do today? Second story, I want to give my girlfriend a second chance. My girlfriend and I are both 20, with her being a few months older, and we've been together for nearly 5 years. Our relationship has predominantly been long distance, fluctuating between seeing each other every 2 weeks to every 2 months. While at a family gathering, she allowed me to use her phone, as she typically does without hesitation. As I browsed through her Twitter, I noticed her engaging with a stranger who does VA and role-playing. But their interactions were public tweets, not private messages. This person rarely shows their face, and my girlfriend doesn't know them in real life. It's worth noting that we've broken up twice before, neither time due to infidelity. On both occasions, it was my decision to end things. The first time was due to a misunderstanding, and the second time was because I felt inadequate. I didn't have a job, a car, etc., and I didn't want her to become bored with me. When I broke up with her the second time, she didn't want to end things at all. She assured me she still wanted me and was willing to wait, even if I wasn't financially stable or able to see her often at the moment. Consequently, we reconciled about a month later. So here's the thing, my girl was flirting with this VA guy off and on. 2 weeks after we had broke up, he would post audios of him moaning, or he'd just post a tweet of him saying naughty things he wants to do to someone. Yes, I do know she can do whatever she wants cause she's single at this moment. But this is where it gets me. After me and her got back together this second time, she would comment things under his posts like "come do it then," or "I'm being a good girl," or "you're very handsome," off and on throughout us being back together this third time. So skipping to where we are now, when I found out everything, I asked her what is this, and she tried to deny the first time, saying IDK. I told her if she lies to me again I will leave her. She admitted after the second time of asking and said she flirted with the guy but she doesn't actually like him or love him. She just very lonely and sad about our breakup and got into a bad habit that wasn't herself, and I believe her because she told me she stopped some months ago, which was true, and she said feels horrible about it and should have had better self-control of herself. And she told me her reasons of doing it can't be justified, but she has a hard time explaining her feels to me sometimes, but she says she's overcame it now. She also felt during our relationship I wasn't giving her enough attention on top of us not seeing each other for months, and said she would always have to call me first. She's deleted any app that can lead her to doing things to destroy our bond. She's had better self-control because she truly does love me. She just really misses feeling my touch and spending time together and wants me to give more attention. I'm not perfect neither, but I'm very good to her and I want us to work out so badly. I love her to death and want to rebuild with her. Now that we live just 15 minutes away from each other, there's potential for us to spend more time together as we originally wanted, going on dates and nurturing our relationship. With all the tweets she posted, it seems she was acting out of loneliness. She admitted to foolishly flirting in those tweets because she desired more attention from me. She also confessed that the temptation to stray diminished once we got back together, emphasizing that she never intended to act on those impulses. She clarified that her comments didn't reflect her true feelings towards the other person. I emphasized to her the importance of communication and how we both need to improve in that regard. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to read this and offer advice. As a young man, I value wisdom and perspectives from both men and women. Note, while I understand she can regain my trust, it won't be without reservation. However, I genuinely believe she's capable of change, and my judgment isn't clouded by love. Thanks for joining us on this chapter of Relation Tales. If you were moved by these stories, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Don't miss out on the upcoming emotional roller coaster of relationships. Your support means the world, and we can't wait to share more compelling tales with you. Until next time, remember, every relationship has a story worth telling. See you soon.